Welcome back. So we know that now we want to create locations. That's kind of the first feature we want to build. And we're going to start in the core of our application, in the services. And let me show you a diagram. It might look scary, but this is the diagram I'm going to work with from now on. And I just want to kind of, if you notice the colors, it matched the clean architecture we saw earlier. So it's you have the UI here with the web API, you have a test area that's purple, and then you have the implementation area over here, the infrastructure that's yellow, and then you have the core. And this is where we're going to start, and this is where we're actually going to run our first test, which will be against what's called the primary adapters in my setup. And that means that what I'm going to actually build in the first setup is going to be a location service test. So that's where we're going to start. And don't worry about all of this. I'll try and explain in the upcoming videos how all of this talks together and why it works like it works. But let's just start out by going into the code and trying to create our first test class so we can start testing soon. Jumping into my code right here, I have the area for tests, and right now I only have one test project. There could be more later. And this one test project I have right now is for primary driver adapters test. And notice it's the same name you see under core, primary driver adapters right here. So this is going to be where the production code is going to be, where I'm going to make the test code right here. So notice it's the same name, just with the name test. Okay? Let's actually just create the class. So this lesson we are ready, and next lesson we're ready actually to start using that class for testing. What you do is pretty much, first of all, the project was created by right-clicking the solution folder, adding a new project, and then picking unit test. And I've picked XUnit. That's very important. I've not picked N or MS test. It's actually XUnit right here that I'm using for my test framework, because they work differently with different syntax. So I picked XUnit. Okay. If you don't have that on your machine, you can actually create a console app, I think, and then all you have to do is kind of go into dependencies, manage NuGet packages, and add these two packages right here, and then you can actually do the same thing that I'm doing right now. Okay? Let's get rid of this. When you create a project, there might be a class file down here. Just delete that class file. You're not going to need it. We're creating a new one from scratch. Let's do that. The first thing I want to test was called location service. So the first class that I'm going to make is going to be location service test, because I kind of want to explain to whoever reads this that it's a test of the location service that I'm building right now. First thing I do is actually I add a folder right here, because I know I'm going to have multiple services that I want to test. And I might later get other primary driver adapters, so I just want to kind of have a folder for each area. In this case, it's the services, so I'm going to have a services folder. And I might as well just up here inside my primary adapters up here, I'm going to also add the same folder for services, because that's going to match as well. So just to tell you that everything I do down here, I'm going to do the same thing up here, because this is where the production code will end, right? Let's go into the test. Right now, they're very easy to make. All I have to do is add to the services a new class, and it's just going to call it location service. And then again, since it's the test class, I'm going to end it with test right here. There we go. Now there might be a lot of different ways to do this. I know there is actually a lot of different ways to do this. So it's really up to you. You can read a lot of documentation and a lot of theory about how to write good unit tests. But this is the way I picked to do it in my project. So if you have anything, let me know in the comments. If you want me to improve this, let me know in the comments. But this is how I write my tests. So now we have a test available. It's right here. And let's just hide this, because now the focus is going to be on the code. And we're just going to this lesson just to get started with unit testing, do some very simple tests, and see that we can actually run tests. Okay? So the first thing, when XUnit is running, it looks for something called facts, right? Or theories, but in our case we're going to work with facts. A fact is pretty much a way for XUnit to know here is a unit test. So I'm going to add a fact right here, and what you do is you put in square brackets and you put in the term fact. Now notice it's using XUnit. If you haven't imported that automatically, of course need that to use the fact. So how do we make the actual unit test? It's just a method. So it's a public void method, and then you have to give it a good name. And I'm going to use better namings than this, but just to get you guys started with unit testing, let me just try and explain to you how I would put in my names. First, I want to put in the name either of the method that I'm going to use. So if I was about to do a calculate age method, I would write calculate age, right? The name of the method. Or if I'm doing something else like creating a new class, I might write when creating new class, right? I try to give a good explanation about what I'm actually testing, right? That's the first parameter. The second parameter is what I pass into the method. Am I trying to pass in null? Am I passing an actual age? Am I passing in something where he's too old, too young? So here, for instance, with age above 100 years, right? So again, I try to explain what am I testing. When I calculate age with an age above 100 years, throw exception age above 100 years. Not accepted. I don't know, right? So I know the name of the method is, whoa, that's a long method name, but it doesn't matter because the idea with unit testing is not only to test our code, it's also if you come later and watch my code, you will instantly, or at least with very little understanding, figure out what is this testing. Oh, it's testing that when I call calculate age with an age above 100 years, I'll throw an exception. Woo! I get that, right? So that's the idea. When I write my methods, I really try to explain exactly what the method is, or what I'm doing, what I'm testing, what I'm passing as parameters, and what will happen if I didn't pass these parameters. And don't worry, as we move forward, it'll start making more and more sense that this is the way I write it.